Good morning, Indy.
Today's top story. Indy Core employees are reaching their breaking point with their employers. Feelings of underappreciation, unclear expectations, and the unwillingness to give feedback has created stress in the workplace. Employees feel their environment is hostile and unencouraging, and they feel more pressured than supported. Employees have attempted to speak with their employers and reach a resolution, but there is an unwillingness amongst the employers to change their ways. Employees are tired of not being heard and are now speaking out to the press to try to get recognition and to try to get the employers to change their ways. So what ideas or opinions or experiences or
I'm sure
any of those words?
Right. No, I mean, I think when I first was hearing, I mean, we've talked about it before, but I think just hearing this story made me think of a time when I was working at a daycare. And overarching story here is that we had a shift of management, and we all went from like one manager who was really amazing, and she was like helpful and would walk around like making sure that you had everything that you needed, and if you needed to like take a break for a second to kind of regain your composure, she would come in and like let you do that.
Like super attentive.
Yeah, like she was very like super nice and just wanted to make sure that her employees felt supported and respected. But the nice thing is too, like she would always give out like little notes of encouragement or letting us know like, hey, I know that you had a really hard day today, but you did such a great job, handling this really tough kid today. Or even if she could tell that we were getting overwhelmed, she'd be like, hey, which kid do you need me to take out right now? And I'll be one-on-one with them for a while. Will you just take some time? So that was an amazing example for me of like what leadership should look like, and how they can be encouraging. But then when they had the switch of people, it was like polar opposite. So she wasn't very encouraging. She didn't show very much support. It was kind of like that fake encouragement where she would tell you, oh, I know that you can do this, but you knew that she just didn't really want to help. She didn't want to, help you through your struggles. So that was really frustrating. And she would often pour on a lot of added work without asking, like, if your schedule could even house that work. So I was doing this when I was in my undergrad program, and I had classes, and I would go to work in between these classes.
Oh, wow.
So she wouldn't ask me, hey, can you stay until close tonight? She would just say, hey, you're closing tonight. Even if I had a class that started at like 5:30 and we didn't close until 6.
So she had like no care for personal
Right.
relationships.
Yeah. And she made it like she would try again. There's like this fake sense of like I want to be friendly. I want to know who you are. So she would like ask us, let's go have coffee sometime, and like you can tell me about who you are as a person, and I really want to hear your heart about all of this. And then when you would go and do that, like she would sit and listen, and then she would kind of come back with like, so I'm really excited for you. Like that sounds really awesome. Would you be able to work this event coming up for the daycare? And it was like you didn't really want.
That's so manipulative.
Yeah,
like you were just trying to get me to do something.
Yeah, so I was super frustrated with that, and I think the biggest thing that could have at least changed the whole like sense and air about it is if she would have been more grateful and showed that appreciation. Like simply saying thank you would have blown it worlds better. So just knowing like, hey, you actually are thankful that I'm doing this work and being respectful of my time and my effort and what I'm giving, that would have just made it so much better.
Yeah. The part-time job I had during my undergrad, when we went in for orientation, they even asked like towards the end of it, like when you do something well or whatever, like how do you want your appreciation to come, like in what form? Like even like do you want it to be written? Do you want it to be verbalized to you? And for me, hearing it is enough. Like I don't need you to write it, but we had like this huge like wall before you walked into our break room that had just like always filled with Post-its of like words of affirmation saying like, oh, you did such a good job on this day, like thanks for doing this for me. It was always, appreciation was very big to them, and I'm sure a lot of it had to do with like because you're in retail and it was a retail job, so it was like you know, like you have to say thank you to your
Yeah,
employees
of course.
because like they're
Sometimes
you're
people
always
just
picking
sick.
up
Yeah.
some kind of slack because there's always, you know, short staffs or whatever.
Mhm.
But so that was really cool to me that just even initially, like they automatically asked you like how you prefer it.
That's very considerate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't have like the same, they don't appreciate things in the same way. So when they want to feel appreciated, they, sometimes written is nicer because they want to have it so look at later, or, being able to be recognized in front of the group sometimes might speak more to them.
Yeah.
So having it written on a shared wall, they can feel, everybody else can recognize, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And some people, they might be a little more shy, so maybe hey, I'd just rather have you tell me versus make it publicly noted. So I think it's just different, people's personalities and how they best receive compliments and how they best feel appreciated. It's important that employers can look at that and be hey, how would you best
See this.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's always positive affirmations. Just like you said, thank yous is enough. I don't really care for the public display of getting that either. But I think some people do like that, and it motivates them more to do better, just so people can recognize what they're doing with the company and stuff.
Yeah, I personally really love a vocal affirmation. I don't really need it publicized, or I don't need other people to know, as long as I have that connection with my employer.
Right.
I feel like that's really all I need to be more productive. I think it's really cool that all of you guys had really great employers that were able to come to you guys and acknowledge the little ways that you guys needed to feel appreciated. I think a lot of the time employers also, they do expect the best from their workers, and they set their standards, but they're good leaders. They don't make them so outlandish that they're not achievable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really necessary for a workplace to function well and for everything to be productive. If a leader is vocal about what they want right off the bat, I think that just allows for a healthy environment for everyone to prosper and just do well. In my last job, the one that I just quit, we didn't really have that. My employers, I had a couple managers, and they were all really nice. Personally, I know that they're amazing people, but in the workplace, it was totally different.
Yeah.
So they set their standards, and they let me know right off the jump what they wanted from me. And I thought that I could achieve it, but then whenever it was actually happening, I realized that it was way too much for me to handle with school. Being new to the city was just too much, and whenever I tried to vocalize this, it was just surface. It really didn't get to them. So I really didn't have a great work experience there. So I decided that it was time for me to find a workplace that I could actually be productive in, and where I could have leaders that actually listen to me and were able to set in front of me what they expected from me and their goals and their aspirations for everyone involved. And if I wasn't able to achieve that right away, they were able to work with me so that I would be able to achieve something that was beneficial for everyone. So
it sounds like it's all about encouraging the heart.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll be our topic of the day, encouraging the heart.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Having clear expectations is
It's super important.
It is really important.
Yeah, if you need those.
Yeah, because even in that same job, we knew what was expected of us, but when we had a policy change or something, that wasn't always vocalized right away.
Yeah.
So I would work a couple hours in my shift, and then a manager would come up and say oh, we're not doing it this way anymore.
Yeah, I
Well,
think those
nice to know.
expectations, really set the mood for the environment, what is wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
having those goals and expressing them right when you get them, having the knowledge right away is very important. So
It really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So having those clear expectations is really important.
Yeah. Right.
Or not, your employers aren't gonna like you or think you're doing a good job if you don't know what's expected of you.
And unfortunately, it also kind of comes down to how it's being done. It's one way to say, yeah, these are the clear expectations. I want this to be, achieved by the end of the day or month or however. But it's often about how they go about that. If they lay it out and they're kind of like rude and short and like not exactly like helpful about it.
Kind of negative.
Right, like it'll make the whole situation a negative experience. And it, oftentimes when it is more positive and it's when it's more like of a team effort and they bring it down to that team effort kind of approach, you get more productivity levels and you get more enthusiasm from your team, and it's just a whole lot better experience all around, and oftentimes you reach that goal together faster and easier and with more like happy feelings about it.
I think from my situation as teaching throughout undergrad and doing various like education, I think allowing for someone to gain confidence through the expectation that they're going to succeed instead of like just expecting students to fail is a huge deal for them. And then this can lead to, them just doing better on exams or like obtaining more knowledge just because you kind of believe in them and you encourage them to, do their best and you expect that out of them, and creating that kind of like threshold of what you expect, and, they will go above and beyond to meet that, especially when it's given in a positive, light.
You're, essentially like just boosting morale, like in any kind of situation, whether it's in your workplace or at school or like, whatever it may be, you're boosting morale by believing in something.
Yeah. I think when it comes to expectations, though, creating a spirit of a community is really important. I think that is wanting individuals to succeed in what they're doing at the end of the day. And when you create that spirit of community, it helps with like just socializing. And humans are, social animals, which makes a huge deal. And like the performance levels are so much higher when we get to socialize in different aspects of our lives, whether it's school or work. And just those personal connections with your teams make it a very smoother transition and, workflow in general.
Yeah.
So something that I personally love, okay, hold on, quick poll. Like, how many of you guys call it potluck? I call it potluck.
I call it potluck.
What do you call it?
I call it a pigeon.
I've never heard of a thing called a pigeon before. Like,
I've heard it called a potluck. I just don't like it.
Did you just make that one up on your own? Or
No.
I've heard that. I just never use it.
Interesting.
Is that more like a Midwestern thing?
Maybe, but I was born and raised in the Midwest, so I guess, but I've never called it a potluck. I heard people call it that.
Yeah, potlucks are a good way to celebrate things. So.
Yeah, I love having a potluck with my coworkers and like my bosses, because I think, like, for me, I love to bond with people in general. So when I'm in a workplace, I love to know who I'm working with, not just on that like surface level of like, yep, I know that you're Susan and you go to school for business. Like, I want to know more.
Like a personal connection.
Yeah, I want that personal connection. So when you have events outside of work, it really kind of allows you to build on those relationships deeper than that surface level. Also, I personally just love food. So like anything that involves food, I feel like opens the door to like really appreciating, because you're appreciating good food and you're appreciating people around you.
Yeah, you can get me anywhere if you tell me that there's
food.
Like,
free food. Yeah, if
right.
It's free food, I'm there.
Yeah. Anywhere.
I think when it comes to celebrating individuals, like potlucks is a really good way, and just having more gatherings that are fun and not work related create that good, environment. Like when at my previous job, I would always be the one that would initiate like parties and like birthday lunches and stuff, and they actually never did that before I started working there.
Yeah.
And it was like a total game changer for like how the team interacted with each other, was because they felt that personal connection with each other, and like, people knew each other's birthdays, and they would just celebrate people's accomplishments throughout these things, and which, is a self-esteem boost, but it also helps with the performance improvement overall in like the workplace. Yeah. So I think it's just appreciating someone and supporting them is usually what humans only need.
And doing things like birthday lunches or like Christmas party. It's a good thing that's empty. Doing things like birthday lunches or like Christmas parties, whatever it may be, giving them that relaxed environment and being able to dance or have a drink or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
just allows you to become friends rather than just coworkers.
I like an appropriate level.
Right, right. You don't want to be like
drunk and
like slurring and like tripping. No,
but
definitely not any of that.
Yeah, I think having fun is very essential to workplaces because like who wants to work in a very mundane, like boring environment? Because that's where burnout comes from. Because you're not doing anything else besides working and. You know, like you don't want people to be miserable when they come into your workplace. It just is so much better if you're just having fun and at an appropriate level. Like, don't be swearing in front of your boss.
I think, but also to be able to see your boss, like, kind of having more fun too, or that you see like that more human level.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know, I just like. It's
no
more comfortable, but by still keeping like the, professionalism, but like building a relationship with your employees too, like saying, hey, I know that like my title technically is above your title, but like I'm human just like you are, like I want to understand and get to know you better, and I also can be silly and fun, and
taking away those levels.
I think functions like that really help like eliminate stress within the workplace, just makes everything more calm, helps with the flow. So I definitely agree that like little parties, little get-togethers outside of work, it definitely helps with the overall movement and everything.
And I think I saw somewhere where like Google and Facebook are really based on like fun of employees and like interactive and stuff. Which I mean, you can see how successful those businesses are. Is because they care about their employees. Appreciation and like the spirit of community at the end of the day is like what really connects all of them through.
At the end of the day, the spirit of the community wants you to get personally involved. Like you want to build those relationships. And it wasn't for work, but during my undergrad, my sister is 5 years older than me, and she told me like before I went to college, like get to know your professors, like utilize their office hours and whatnot. And when I got to my program, I did try to get to know my professors because those were the professors I was going to have for the rest, like my next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my professors, I really just did like click with, and like it ended up being like a mentor and a friend and my professor like all in one, and it was it's a very like weird kind of like relationship that we have.
But it's so special though.
It is special.
A very special, unique relationship.
It is, because it made it easier for him to know how I work and how I write papers and how my kind of process.
Like your thinking process.
Right, my thinking process, for him to understand that. It's a lot easier for him to like help me and grade and do those kinds of things, and it's easier for me to know what he's expecting out of me. Just to even have that personal relationship. That he does expect the best out of me.
Right.
But because he knows me and I know him, it was easier for us to expect the best out of each other.
Yeah, I know with one of my professors, she's also like my internship coordinator. Like I would kind of report to her since my internship didn't have a social worker on site. But she knew me from like previous classes, and because I would take time to go hang out in her office and just ask her questions, like we got to be more personally involved in each other's lives. And it was really special. Like when I was going through a couple different hard times during my senior year, she was able to be there for me in a way that maybe somebody who I hadn't made that connection with, they wouldn't have been able to help support me in the best of ways. And with this professor, she knew who I was, like my core values, and she knew that like my faith is really important to me. So even though she wasn't an extremely like religious person, she knew to ask me questions about how I'm doing in my faith. And she was like, hey, have you like been to church? Have you talked to your pastor about this? And so she knew like that was something that was extremely important to me. But she also knew like, you also love to smile. So when I know that you're not smiling, I know something's probably really wrong, because it takes a lot to make you not smile.
That's cute.
Yeah. So it was good to even like those little nonverbals she could pick up on, which also like made me feel good, because then I knew that she took the time to really be personally involved and like knowing who I am.
Well, see, that wasn't a thing for me, because if I was smiling, he was probably like, what's happening? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yes.
But we did get to, and because he worked with me on my practicum as well. He was like the vice president of the nonprofit I worked for, so he did get to work with me a little bit with that. and I worked out of his office, like the campus office. And he could walk into the room and I could just say hi, and he would automatically know that something was wrong. Or like if I was like in a good mood or a bad mood, like he knew. Yeah, like a bit. Yeah, he would be like, "Oh, it's been a rough day." Like he knew about my like relationship, and like it was, and we had fun at the same time. Like we just knew how to communicate, and it made it so much easier to do schoolwork and to do my regular work because he was involved in both of those aspects. Mm-hmm. So it just made it a lot easier to have.
I think that personal involvement is really something that sets the mood for like when you want to go into work, and like that friendship I became really close to one of my bosses she was a team lead, and she was like the one that overlooked all of us and stuff. And I think her coming up to me and wanting to know about like cultural differences and like what she could do to be culturally competent when it came to like, you know, my background and stuff was really important. And she would ask me like a million questions about my life, and she would be like, "Oh my God, that's so cool that like," and she would like actually go out of her way and like research like, you know, whether it's like Indian rituals and like holidays. And it was like really cool that like all of a sudden she would like start celebrating those in the workplace. Just because she was like, I just don't want you to feel like you're left out. So just that personal connection and like that friendship of wanting to know someone's background is, I think, very important. It was like really cool to see like someone actually try and be personally involved and just you're just not an employee that they're just overlooking.
But still being able to like separate like, I'm your friend, but I'm your boss. Like you still have to like do your work.
Yeah. Right. She was like really good about that. She was like, okay, like during supervision and stuff, it was like, okay, we're only going to talk about work.
That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. And then like during other hours, she was like, oh, that's so cool. And like she would ask about my dog all the time because proud dog mom.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Proud dog.
Hashtag proud dog.
Yes. Oh, I miss my dog. Cool.
Yeah, my mom's is kind of like yours. Very personable. He was the manager, and then there was a supervisor. He was when I was always on ground, so he was always there. He really worked so that he was kind of involved in all the other waitresses' lives. We kind of like we worked with him all the time, so we were always seeing him. We kind of looked up to him as like a mentor. He was like a big brother. He was really just someone that we could like confide in. And I think that's really necessary. Just to kind of have a strong relationship that you can like trust your employer. It doesn't have to be super personal, but as long as there's like trust there, and we definitely trusted him. Always gave good advice, looked out for us. Whenever we weren't performing our best, he was kind enough to like let us know, but he was also like still the boss, so he would tell us to step our game up, which was needed.
But having someone that like makes sure that you're taking care of yourself,
like the self-care,
like no matter what's going on, like here or like in your personal life, like make sure you take like an hour or so, like a week to like.
Or like
go get your nails done, or like do whatever, like work out, do whatever it is that like you do to make you feel better.
I think it's like we don't take into consideration how long we spend at work. Like that's 8 hours a day we are at work, or 8 to 12, whatever it is.
Right.
And these are people you see every single day. Like they essentially become like family for you, and it's just like you want to be personally involved and help each other as much as possible, especially as a leader, because you don't want to be like the one that's like not emotionally there for your team, and then like they suffer because of it because you're so closed off. And sometimes bosses are like that, like maybe the breaking news that we were talking about.
Full circle.
Right. Yes. There's so many different like principles that we could tie in, and I think ultimately being a leader is just about being able to be flexible, because each person is going to be different. But if you can like appeal to their heart by encouraging them, it makes the workplace kind of flow much better, and that opens up the door for communication and like how you are best taught, how you best receive feedback.
Like the open door.
Because you always need to be learning,
right?
Regardless of whether you're leading, like there's always something new to learn.
Yeah, especially from like different people from different backgrounds that work for you. You can learn so much,
like
based on diversity.
Just like your boss, like the cultural competency. Like just taking that into consideration and like trying to make them feel more welcome by helping them celebrate.
Yeah, and it's like it's a small thing, but I think it goes a long way, especially in like fields like social work, like being culturally competent and making sure like you are diverse with communities that you would be serving.
Yeah. I read something, I think it was just like last night, but it was like a small change seems really small. Like if you take a small shift in direction, like again, it seems really small, but if you start walking, like you end up miles from where you started.
Right.
Yeah.
So as much as small changes make a big difference in
Yeah.
the end, and it's
just like few steps.
Yeah.
Normal things that
Right.
you do.
And it never, like, when you're doing those positive things, it never feels like you're walking as long and as far as you have been. You know, it feels like it's only a few small things that we're saying. It doesn't take that much effort. It doesn't take that much oomph to get it going. It's just taking that first step. And then before you know, you can look back behind you and see, wow, like, look how far we have come in this short time. And it hasn't felt like we've made that much progress because it didn't feel like work, but we have made that much progress.
I think it's like the whole spirit of the community we were talking about. Like
Yeah.
if you initiate that with your community and like, you know, be the spirit animal and like lead people into that.
Yeah.
I think it creates like a big appreciation and like people are supported. Like people will follow a leader if they know that the leader is good and they're supporting what the cause is and like making sure they remember what the mission is.
Yeah.
At times a lot of organizations I think forget their mission because their leaders have forgotten their mission.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems that is the case for the Indicor company.
Yeah.
But I think that you guys have raised some really great points with your examples. I hope that the company and everyone will take what we have said into consideration, really valid points. And hopefully this situation is one that will be worked out really quickly and smoothly with benefits for everyone involved.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds great. You girls were awesome.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, ladies.
Yes.
Woo!